Hello, let me introduce the original deployment of the whole system using Ansible scripts for our groups. As we can see, this file is our group's playbook file, and the tasks have been divided into several parts. The first part, the host, is localhost, and the variable file is Melbourne Research Cloud file. The Melbourne Research Cloud file includes several settings. The first one is common settings, and the second one is the settings about volume. The second settings is about security group. The security group has two rules. One rule is for public communication, such as SSH and HTTP. The second rule is for private communication between CouchDB nodes. And here is the setting for instance. The first row is to create volume on the MRC. It includes tasks about create volumes from variables and get a list of volume IDs from the return value. The second row is create security groups. It includes tasks about create a security group, create a list of security group names, create security group rules applying remote IP prefix, create security group rules applying remote group prefix. The second row is OpenStack instance, which is create instance in the MRC. It includes tasks about create an instance on the MRC, and wait for connection, and add hosts to assemble in-memory inventory. The second part is operations on the data nodes. The data nodes are the following. The three IP addresses are used as data nodes, and this IP address is used as master node, and this IP address is used as processing node. Excuse me. And the variable files is Docker and CouchDB. It includes settings about volumes, proxy environment, and CouchDB configuration. The first row is node common. It includes tasks about install some dependencies, update pip for Python software, and install some needed Python packages. The second row is install Docker. It includes tasks about uninstall all Docker, install dependencies, new Docker needs, add and update Docker repository key, add and update Docker repository, install new Docker compose, make sure relevant file directory exists, configure relevant Docker proxy, and reload system daemons, and reload Docker daemons, and reload Docker. The third row is Docker volume mount. It includes tasks about install some needed dependency, make relevant file system, check relevant folders status, create needed directory, configure mount points and relevant device. The final row is setup CouchDB. Excuse me. The first task is abandon existing CouchDB Docker containers, and the second task is create and start new Docker containers for CouchDB. This part is to perform CouchDB deployment on all the data nodes except master node. And the variable file is also Docker and CouchDB. The role is CouchDB deployment. It includes tasks about add needed nodes to CouchDB cluster, join relevant nodes to CouchDB cluster, send empty request to test errors, and complete the process of CouchDB setup. This part is to set up software, Twitter streaming or Twitter harvester, and install Tomcat service on all data nodes. The hosts are data nodes, and the variable files is proxy environment. This file only includes proxy environment settings. The first row is set up Twitter harvester. It includes tasks about clone source code from GitHub to virtual machine directory, ensure Docker configuration directory exists or created, ensure Docker proxy for MRC exists, build Docker image for Twitter streaming or Twitter harvester, stop and remove existing Docker container for Twitter streaming, and finally create and start new Docker container for Twitter streaming. The second row is Tomcat service install. Excuse me. The first task is install JDK, and then download Tomcat service server packages, and unarchive Tomcat server packages, and finally start and enable Tomcat service. The final part is to install Docker and set up software Twitter harvester for processing node. The hosts are processing node, which is just this one, and the variable file is proxy environment, and the rows include nodes common, which is same like before, and install Docker, and make volume mount and make mount point on the Docker. This row is to install some dependencies in the processing node. It only includes one task: install Node.js and npm needed for front-end. And the final row is set up Twitter harvester in the processing node. And this Twitter harvester is just used as backup in case the software Twitter harvester in the data nodes may collapse. So to run our playbook, we should use this file. and we will need a private key, CC Assignment2, and we should put the private key in the right file directory. For example, put it in the root of the virtual machine. Then we can just start it by using the command line. To run this file, we should first rename this file. Then we can go to this file. And then go to Windows Virtual Machine, and here is U button, and we can just run this start file. And after we enter the password, we can just run the Assemble playbook. That's all. Thank you.